Hey, this is Tracy with Color Me This. Today I'm working on episode 46. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you are returning. I am sharing a wall that I have shared before. I just started the video on this wall because this is my Brutfuner 520 student grade colored pencils that I have hung up all over in my craft room. And this is my latest completed area. And, oh, you can even see me. Look, there I am waving. These two drawings are my most recent animal portrait projects. They are both tutorials from Bonny Snowdon, and they both use a material that I have resisted using. I've owned it for a long time, but because of how rough it is, I never used it, and finally on my birthday I decided to take the plunge because I really liked the Robin tutorial that I saw, and that was done, I don't remember when she did it, but I picked up starting on it on my birthday and finished it before Christmas. My birthday is December 22nd, so I finished it in 3 days, which is pretty good for me. And then on January 1st Bonnie did this buck, and had a dark Pastelmat was the material you were to color it on. So I wanted to just share how I did the line drawing, line art, and how I put that and transferred it onto the Pastelmat, and then I'm going to go over the Pastelmat in general. But first I need to take the picture off the wall, so I will do that and I'll be right back. All right, there it is sitting on the table. I am going to sit down. It's very reflective, and I didn't want to have to take it out of the frame. So it is a dark image. Everybody who gets to do her tutorials does their own interpretation. She stopped hers at a fairly dark state, and I worked it a little bit more, but I kind of liked it being a darker image. So that is why this is dark. When you go online, she has a Facebook group, and there are all sorts of versions of this. It is definitely my first buck I've ever drawn. I have a doe on my other wall that I did. I did that on drafting film. So Pastelmat, let's talk about Pastelmat. It is like a really thin mat board for artwork. This is what you see here that I cut. This mat is out of Crescent 4-ply mat, and this has got a white backing. Let's see if you can see the white backing on both of these. Hopefully you can see that there is a white backing, that this sanded paper, it's either sanded paper or it's a sandpaper process. This is, I would say, a very fine sanded paper equivalent. And because of the roughness of it, and I prefer to draw on smoothish paper, I have just avoided using it. So I did buy years ago from Dick Blick online a 9x12 pack of it. It comes as a pad, and you peel each sheet off. They're 9.5 by 12. You get 12 sheets, 4 shades of each, of 4 shades, and 3 sheets of each of the 4 shades. That's kind of a tongue twister. It was, at the time, I paid $46.40 plus tax. I think I bought it while I was in Florida, so tax here is 7%. So I averaged it out to $5 per sheet. And here I want to show you the 4 colors. This is anthracite. This is what my buck was drawn on. Oh, sorry about that. Each sheet is separated by a piece of glassine, which is what I use to protect. When I draw, I put the glassine underneath my hand, so it's nice to have received sheets of these in between each of the 12, so you get 12 sheets of glassine. This color is brown. Let's let you have another peek at the brown. I say it's very mauve-y looking brown in my light, like a gray mauve over what I would consider to be a brown. The next color is sienna, and I think that's a pretty close approximation of sienna. And then the back sheets are the white, and it just says white. I bet there's different shades of white, but here is the white. And you can see I tore the white out, and the pad has now broke into 2 pieces, but I just leave them in this pad structure, and I have all of my pads up vertically in my storage cabinetry. And the next challenge to undertake here was to get the line art, which I printed out on 8.5 by 11. So this is an 8.5 by 11 inside mat. So I found on Amazon Royal Langnickel graphite paper in white. I think they have a couple of different colors. I avoided the made in China meant for artistic paper, and I went with this based on the reviews, and it did a absolutely perfect job. And it doesn't, I was trying to see if it says where it's made. There's this sticker on the back. Royal Brush is what they're calling it. Royal Brush white transfer paper, 9 by 13, 4 per package. And then it has some instructions on how to use it. We are going to take one of these small pieces that I have. Here's me practicing my signature. It is a very different experience signing something on a sanded paper than it is even on like a Bristol vellum that's a little bit bumpy. So here is how my signature ended up working out. Sadly, down below here, there's a little bit more, about 1/4 of an inch more to the buck, but where I signed it along the very bottom, I messed up my T and had to then give up that 1/4 of an inch of the deer. But it was okay. I think it still looks fine. And I really kicked myself for having signed it so poorly. I should have practiced more. I only practiced the 2 times. So with this white transfer paper, here is the page that I drew on. You'll notice a lot of times when you use transfer paper, you will just take like a ballpoint pen and right on the back, here's the back side, you'll see that there is no indication of me doing any writing on it, and that is because I want to use this over and over, so I didn't want to get any lines on there that would be confusing. So instead, this right here is a little case from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and in my paper crafting world, I have done flower forming and own a bunch of Elizabeth Craft Designs dies that make a variety of sort of 3D flowers, but not so 3D that they can't fit on like the front of a card. And with this, I got actually a 4th tool that I believe is another ball set. So the tool that I like to use for the transfer paper is the one that has a pointy end, and then it has a little embossing small ball end. And you can buy these, they're called embossing tools, and you can get them with a variety of sizes of these little balls. But I really like to use this end. And as an alternative, I think if you found a ballpoint pen in your life somewhere along the line that was dry, don't throw it away. I would keep it, because that should make a nice equivalent surface to this point. In fact, this is finer than a ballpoint pen, but ballpoint pens come in different sizes. I would suggest a 0.5. What I like to use is a 0.7, which I think might be a little bit big, just like this ball end is a little bit on the big side. So when you put this down, you have your line art, which sadly I put it away. So if you have the line art, you set it on top, tape it down so it doesn't move. You don't want it to move. And then, since we have this little scrap, I am going to, this feels like there's a flat, feels like tissue paper surface. And then on the graphite side, it has a little bit of a plasticky feel, so that's how you know for sure. But you can always do a little test. So if I had taped this down, I would then take, and if I have my line art, I would then draw. And then I pull up and test. See, and I was not putting hardly any pressure at all on this. I don't want to put pressure on because I want to be able to erase this. So that is just how easy it is. And you can see where you could use a little bit bigger ballpoint pen and get a slightly fatter line. But again, I want my lines to be able to be erased. So let's grab an eraser. Here's a little eraser, and let's just see how the erasing works. So you will want to be very careful with your erasing, but you can see it erases. So that is how I transferred the buck line art, which was provided. I didn't have to take the photograph and create my own line art, though I have on some other pieces where I did the whole thing start to finish myself, where I took the photograph and carefully created the line art first, then had to do the transfer. All right, I have put back the buck, and I wanted to share with you the drawing process. So this buck was a reference photo from Pexels, and Bonnie provided a few zoomed in images, but the image she chose was not very precise and clear because the techniques we were learning were not intended to be realism. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that is an airboat. That sounds awfully close, and sometimes they try to come back here where we're at, so we might see an airboat. And if we do, it's going to be really noisy because it's right on the other side of that fence, which is not very far away, maybe 20 feet. Okay, so I am excited to share with you how few pencils that we used to achieve this. So I've got my pencil drawing here with some matte so that I can lay them out one by one. We did use black. These are the first ones I'll put down are the Polychromos. So black, dark sepia, and yes, these pencils are getting quite short for me. Walnut brown. I believe all three of these I already have backups, and I might even have for the walnut brown, I might have 2 backups because I use that quite often in nature and animal portraits. And then we use this lovely burnt ochre. And if you look specifically at the drawing, like here I can see where I used burnt ochre. That's the light orangey tan. So I used the burnt ochre mostly on his back, and then on the right side here the light source is coming from this side, and I was wanting it to stay a dark image. I do also see that right in here, this drawing took Bonnie about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes, and she didn't get all of this back area done. I kept on going and I finished the back and then went right in here to get this little curly hair effect on the forehead. If it's at all like cow hair, it's kind of a wiry hair, so it is not just straight. Like a horse has a straight slick coat, they might have a whirl or curl in there, but it's very close to their head, where cows, and I imagine a buck, would have kind of this wiry appearing grouping of hair kind of going all different directions. So that's an area where I used that burnt ochre. And then inside these ears, so 4 colored with one of them being black, so really only 3 colors. And then she chose 2 Pablos, the white and cream. And then The Polychromos Ivory, I don't think that I used it. I'm not sure why I chose it, or if I can't remember using this at all. The difference to me between a Pablo and a Poly is the Poly is harder, and it is a little bit silkier feeling, and then the Pablo is a little softer, and it has the same silkiness but a little bit drier. Those are just the best ways that I can say the differences are, and I think the Pablos are just a really lovely, lovely pencil. I am really glad I got them. There, I think the last, I have this small set of Holbeins, but the Pablos were the last set of the professional pencils that I got as like a complete, the whole tin with all of the colors, and they were a joy and are very, very nice pencils to use. So I kept my particular version of this buck darker, partially because I did not let myself stop and rewind, stop and rewind. This was drawn start to finish in her timing, as well as maybe 20 more minutes to do the back and then fix up my wiry curly hair on the forehead. I might have also done a little bit more detail white along the antlers. So I'm very proud of this, being that it's a new medium for me. It is the first drawing, like official drawing. I've done some test sketches where I stamped an image on black and then did some colored pencil over it. I think it was the metallics, the Castle Art metallics. So this was really the first actual animal portrait that I have attempted on a dark surface, and I really enjoyed it. I was glad when I kind of, what I do is I get really close with my craft glasses, the highest magnification that I own, and then I keep working and working and working, and then I have to back away. And when I backed away at 2 hours, 40 minutes, I'm like, I am just going to stop. Then after I practiced my signature a couple times, what do? I go and mess up my signature. I was so sad. So I had to just put it away for a little bit, and I did not redo the signature until I sat down to cut the mat and made the commitment to cover my signature, which was again about 1/4 of an inch. So that is all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them here on this video and I will happily answer. I love to hear what you guys think. I want to know, have you ever used Pastelmat? What are your thoughts on it? Are you a person who likes the rougher surface, or are you like me and more intimidated by it? And if you are intimidated by it, one fun thing to do is you could go with some friends and share a pad of they come in different sizes. So that's something I do in my card making world. I have like a group of friends, and we've done things like buy and share Copic markers, where we've bought them discounted random lots, or we've buy the DSP with the patterns on it, and we split it up amongst us. So that is one way that I could see you getting some fun surfaces to explore that would otherwise be very cost prohibitive. So do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.